Lynn Calver, and I decided to do my tech set on kindergarten standards. The standards are under social studies and the history strand. I chose two standards to do. The first one is heritage is reflected through diverse cultures and is shown through the arts, customs, traditions, family celebrations, and language. And the second standard is symbols and practices of the United States include the flag, Pledge of Allegiance, and the national anthem. Other nations are represented by symbols and practices too. I chose both standards because they relate so well to each other that I figured it would be easier to find a lot of books to fit both standards rather than just one. So the first book, which would be my anchor book, would be A Ticket Around the World. The authors being Natalie Diaz and Melissa. The illustrator is Kim Smith. So this book takes you on a trip around the world, teaching you about the different cultures and the environments. This is a great opening book to introduce the heritages of different countries through cultural diversity. And I would use this as a read aloud book. Once again, it's really great. It's told in the perspective of a young boy, and he meets all of his friends, and so the kids can really relate to this book, and it's a great opening to different cultures and the environments. So the second book would be The Seven Continents of the World. It's a lift a flap book. I know kindergartners love lift a flap books. The author and illustrator are Hai Skip. So this book just shows you the seven continents of the world, and it tells you one interesting fact about each continent through the lift of flaps. And honestly, I would use this at a station for the kids to look at, so I would have a teacher with them, helping them read and stuff, of course, because it is kindergarten. And they would learn interesting facts about the seven continents, and then on their own, they would do a worksheet where they have to match the continent to their interesting fact. This is just a great way to introduce that there are seven continents in the world, and just to have the kids learn interesting facts about those continents. So the third book is It's a Small World, Hello World. The author is Winnie Ho, and the illustrator is Nancy Kubo. This book is by Disney. And I know that Disney is a very big thing in younger age kids. So this book is great to incorporate because it has the popular brand of Disney, and it's teaching children to say hello in different languages. So it has the language aspect of the heritage and cultures of different countries, and it's just a really cute book that you can use as a read aloud, and you can leave it in the classroom so that the kids can consistently reference it. And so not only does it teach them about the different languages of countries, but it also introduces them to those language and makes them learn how to say hello in that language. The fourth book is called Celebrations Around the World. The author and illustrator is Katie Halford, and this book explores holidays, festivals, celebrations around the world. So it informs children about cultures and the religions through that country's celebrations. And this is a great book to have as a read aloud. And even if you don't want to read all of the aspects of the countries, you could pick and choose a couple of the countries to read, and then have it as a informational book that the kids can look at on their own. And so it really gives them a way to connect. If they know that their family is from a different country, it would really help them connect with their family back home, or their extended family that may still live in that country. The fifth book is Flags of the World. The author and illustrator is Sylvie Bednar. This book shows many different flags that represent countries around the world. This book is a little bit harder of a read, so I would probably put this book at a station and have a teacher go through and help them, and I would really only show the kindergartners the popular countries that they know of, maybe the ones that were referenced in the Anchor book or the Seven Continents book, just so that it keeps it around, and like you can have it so that they can look at the other countries that are maybe not as well known. But honestly, I came up with an activity for this, and I think it would be great. You could have the kids like create their own flag. If they had their own country, they would have to create a flag, and like how would that flag represent their own personal culture, like what they want their country's culture and traditions to like surround. The sixth book is The StarSpangled Banner by Peter Spire. He's also the illustrator of this book. And I love this book. I found it and I absolutely love it. It is so cute. It's a little book that provides the children with the lyrics of the national anthem, and it also shows the history of the song and the history of the War of 1812. So it teaches the kids about symbols of the country and all of that, and how like we have our own national anthem, but it does it in such a different way. They have the lyrics of the national anthem illustrated, and they also have the original key that Francis Scott Key made. They have that in the book incorporated too, and it also talks about the history of the War of 1812, which is when the Star-Spangled Banner was formed. And I just think it's a really cute book, and it's a really simple way for kids to learn about our national anthem and how it came to be created. And so I would probably use this as a read aloud, and even just like maybe take photocopies of the national anthem lyrics and have them posted around the room, just so that the kids can constantly be reminded of the national anthem and their lyrics and everything like that. So book 7 is My Granny Went to Market. The author is Stella Blackstone, and the illustrator is Christopher Core. And this book takes kids on a journey around the world to different markets, while the granny collects souvenirs with the children. And so it's not only does it talk about the different things that you could buy at a market in a country, but it also has around the world counting and rhyming. So it's not only teaching kids about what you can get at a market in different countries or what's popular in different countries, but it also teaches counting and rhyming, and it's just a great like beginner book to really have the kids like understand what different cultures value and like what you can get in different countries versus what you can get in the United States. The 8th book is Where Are You From? By Yamil Saeed Mendez, and the illustrator is Jamie Kim. This book talks about a little girl's heritage, and she is told by her grandpa where she's from and her culture. This is a great read aloud book for the kids, and this little girl is constantly asked about where she comes from, and honestly she doesn't really know the answer. And so this book takes you on the journey and is told, the grandpa tells her where she's from and what her culture is like. So this is just introducing another culture, but it's in the perspective of a little kid and learning about her culture. So it like kind of ties in learning about culture, and this little kid didn't really know hers, and so now she's learning about hers as your children in the classroom are also learning about cultures and maybe finding out their own culture through this text set and this study that we're doing in the classroom. So the 9th book is I Too Am America. The author is Langston Hughes, the illustrator Brian Collier. This book is an amazing way to introduce poetry to kindergartners through a picture book while still exploring American heritage. So this book takes Langston Hughes' popular poem and turns it into a picture book. So it's a key piece of the American culture and the American heritage, but it turned it into a children's book. So it's a really great way for the kids to get that poetry, but also understand it through the pictures and the way that it's illustrated in this book. And it also tells a key part of the American history and like what happened. And so I would probably use this as a read aloud book. But I would also keep it in the classroom so that the kids can reference it, because I feel like it's a really great way that we're not only incorporated American history and culture and heritage, but we're also taking a poem, which is another source of reading, and turning it into a picture book so that the kids can actually understand the poetry. Because I know poetry can be hard to understand sometimes, but this turns it into a picture book so that they can understand. And then the last book is probably my personal favorite. It's same, but different. The author and illustrator are Jenny Sue Kostecki, Sean. This book shows how two little boys can be friends even though they have miles and even oceans between them. While writing to each other, they explain their own cultures and things that make them different yet similar in so many ways. And this is a great book because it incorporates the writing aspect, and writing is very important, especially for kids at this young of an age. And so it shows that these two little boys are corresponding through writing, and they're learning a whole bunch of different things about each other's cultures and each other's heritage, and they're making connections and noticing differences and similarities that they may have, even though they're miles apart. And this is a great read aloud book for kids because it truly shows that everyone is different, but we all have connections in some way, and that's great. That's a really great book to build classroom community and stuff like that in your classroom. And so it wraps up the text set of heritage and culture very nicely by showing that they're different but also the same.